Okay, so let me show you what you actually have to do your homework. You're not going to have to create an R Markdown file from scratch. I've already done that for you. What you're going to have to do is modify it just a little bit. So I assume at this point that you have lab3.rmd downloaded from the assignment on Canvas and that you remember where you put it on your computer. So what you're going to do now, you go into the RStudio main memory file, open file, navigate to where you put it, and I remember where I put it. I just looked at it, so my navigation already went there. And I find lab3.rmd, and I double click on it. And that opens the lab3 instructions as an RMD file. And we might just first of all start off and see what it looks like. And notice that it's set to knit word. I can change this back and forth. Well, let me just run knit HTML the first time. Okay, so what it did, and again, this is in the preview window. You can see what this thing looks like as a readable file. It looks kind of nice. It's not messy. So let's go back and change that to Word. And again, there's a drop-down menu here, knit HTML. I'll say, no, we're going to knit Word. And it produced a Word version of the same thing. It's basically the same text, but it's formatted a little bit differently. Okay, so let's take a look at it and understand what you're going to have to do. So we'll close this Word document. And in here, the first thing you have to do, oh, I should tell you, the first time you open an R Markdown file, you're going to get a request from RStudio, and you're going to have to be connected to the internet when you do this, because it's going to say in order to work with R Markdown files, you need to download and install a couple different packages, and it knows exactly what it needs. So just say yes to that request, and if everything goes okay after the first time, you won't have to do that again. It'll get all the packages you need. Okay, and then we come to this first thing. I called it the preamble, and there's two commands in the preamble. One is to download the file from where OpenIntro put it, and the second is to load it. Now this first command where it says download file, and I'll scrunch that up to the margin. I don't like having that thing over there. This first command goes out to the internet and brings the file ames.rdata down to your computer. And you will need to do that the first time. After that, you could comment this thing out, okay? But the first time you need to actually run that. The second command, load ames.rdata, and that one you actually need to run every time. And you may think, why do I need to run that? After I've done this the first time, I have ames.rdata in my environment, so why do I need to keep loading it every time? Well, here's the funny thing about our Markdown files. They have a sort of a separate, complete environment from the normal R session that RStudio is working with. And the only thing that's available in that special session is the contents of base R. Your normal global environment isn't available to it. And really that's the way things have to be, because you want to be able to send this R Markdown file to somebody else and have that other person produce the same results. Well, in order to do that, the file that you get has to be independent of what it is, the file you produce has to be independent of what you have loaded in your specific work environment. So the R Markdown file has to have complete instructions for getting all of the data into the special session, okay? So let's just run this thing. Well, we've already run this thing in HTML and Word. Let's go down and look at what you have to do. You have to do some R code, and basically if you look at the example where we did this with one variable, you're just making minor changes to the code that's in the Open Intro lab. And we'll just put something in here that doesn't really matter much. We'll say, let's do str left paren aims. Okay? And then we'll run it. We'll get a Word document. And you see that didn't work, okay? Because we hadn't run the preamble. You don't run things in, well, you do, let me go back to the beginning. The normal process is knitting. And you can see that, yes, indeed, we knitted it, and you can see, gosh, there's an awful lot of junk in aims that I'm really not interested in. It's nice that I'm just looking at one of these variables, okay? So that's good. We can just close this Word document. But that's how you put commands in. And then in text, this is a little trick. I'm not going to explain to you exactly what this is all about. This is a special thing called LaTeX, which you're not going to have to mess with. And all you do is change the code and answer the questions. Okay? So this is really a pretty simple assignment, I think.